So now, I'm going to present to you someone that I admire so much. I learn from her every time we interact. She's like the living embodiment of a master class in getting things done. But with love and care. And I love her dearly. I'm going to present to you our, of course, Dr. Jervette, our award, 42nd CLA President and 13th Women President of CLA.
Greetings, CLA scholars. How are you? It's good to be back, isn't it? It's good to be back in person. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, President Fendes, for welcoming us to Atlanta adjacent, as you Well, as my daddy always says, who's a pastor, you better set a timer up here, right? Before you give a speech. I'm gonna do that right quick. All right. Channeling rage, resilience, and response to grow our legacy for the future. Our legacy. January 27th, 2023. Was the night that the video footage of the murder of Tyree Nichols was to be released. That the video footage of the murder of Tyree Nichols was to be released by city officials. The city had already started the process of preparing what they envisioned to be a possible riot or violent repercussions because it was already common knowledge that the violence perpetuated by these officers was beyond reprehensible, and it would warrant the rage of the citizens of Memphis. When local TV networks aired the footage, it was released with the following warning. Footage contains graphic content and language. Some may find offense. Viewer discretion is advised. It wasn't the first time that a warning would flash across a TV screen, a computer monitor, or a smartphone announcing the brutal death of another Black person. And it sadly probably wouldn't be the last time either. This murder just happened to be in the city that I called home. And they were right, even without watching the full video, because I could not watch it. I found offense. I felt rage. I read the report of how Mr. Nichols was beaten, kicked, and tortured in approximately an hour of video footage, how he was given more than 70 conflicting commands during the traffic stop, and how he was denied medical care, and how 3 days after the brutal attack, he died. Black Memphians were not, and are not new to violent and reprehensible murder. There is a rage that is justified and warranted for the deaths of Thomas Moss, Will Stewart, and Calvin McDowell, the friends of Ida B. Wells Barnett, who were violently lynched in the city of Memphis for daring to challenge white Memphians by owning their own and opening their own Black-owned grocery store to disrupt white capitalistic ideology. Memphis is also the site of the famous sanitation worker strike, but that strike first took place because of the deaths of Ethel Cole and Robert Walker, 2 Black men who had been crushed to death by a garbage truck that had malfunctioned. This strike is, of course, one of the reasons why the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. famously arrived in Memphis to join with these enraged folks who were remaining resilient in their quest for justice and action to launch his Poor People's Campaign, and where he too was violently murdered in the city of Memphis. Black Memphians know rage, a justified rage. The city chose to release the footage of the murder of Tyree Nichols after 6 p.m. on a Friday, a controversial decision that had the white citizens of Memphis once again clutching their proverbial pearls. Schools let out early so that parents could get little Timmy and Becky safely home. After school activities were canceled, local schools, restaurants, and businesses closed early and sent their employees home or asked them to work remotely because they were terrified of the anger or the rage that they expected from, in particular, the Black citizens of Memphis, who would be justified once again in responding to the loss of life of one of their own. Yet, the pearl clutching, the school closings, and the window shutterings were unwarranted. The rage was palpable in the city, yet it was a controlled rage. A rage that was moved to action. A rage that was moved to organization and mobilization. Marches and protests took shape across the city. Resignations and the removal of key people in positions of power were enacted. Bridges and major thoroughfares were shut down to remind the city that no justice, no peace. Investigations and disbandment of units that were deemed harmful were set in motion. Just as Wells remained resilient in the midst of the violent terror waged by the white citizens of Memphis, who swarmed her newspaper offices on Bill Street and burned them down, and who ran her out of Memphis for daring to detail their abominable practices of lynching in the Red Record. The Black citizens of Memphis responded by heeding her and Moss's response and joining in the Great Migration when they said, "Tell my people to go west. There is no justice for them here." And Black people in Memphis did leave. They moved west and north like Wells did herself. They responded by taking their economic and physical power elsewhere. Wells continued to respond by expanding her activism and utilizing her voice to challenge systems of power and inequality to push for the advancement of Black people. They raged, they remained resilient, and then they figured out their response. As I looked around my city that has navigated decades of murders of Black people, I was humbled at the resilience of those who have been deemed unworthy of being protected. Black citizens of Memphis have remained resilient in the midst of the most trying of circumstances, in the midst of challenges that have warranted their full rage, violent rage, justifiable rage, and have consistently offered a response that centers their humanity, that honors their right to exist and to live as they please. Grow for the future. I started writing the presidential address for our 81st annual convention with the theme of rage, resilience, and response on the night of January 27th, 2023, in my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. Also the city where the Association of Teachers of English and Negro Colleges, later renamed the College Language Association, was founded on the campus of Lemoyne College, now Lemoyne Owen College, in 1937. For anyone who has served or worked in a Black service organization, one can honestly admit that there are years of service that can lead to rage. Can I get an amen, Pastor? We are an organization that operates completely based on service. We do not have a staff. We do not have offices. As I often say in executive committee meetings, we exist in the hearts of our members. For more than 80 years, we have existed because committed individuals have chosen to dedicate their time, energy, and efforts to the mission of CLA. As we navigated through the COVID years in particular, we faced unprecedented challenges, yet we remained resilient. It can lead to rage when one realizes that there isn't a budget or a staff to keep things going, when there is overwhelming love and desire to do so in the midst of a changing and trying world. In 1937, a group of Black scholars gathered on the campus of an HBCU in Memphis, Tennessee to form an organization dedicated to the uplift of Black people via language, via writing. It was a risk, it was a challenge. These Black faculty members and scholars were navigating the Deep South to improve writing practices when they daily had to navigate the injustices of Jim Crow. And 1 year later, they gathered for the second annual convention in the city of Atlanta in 1938. And we all know about their gatherings because here in Atlanta in 1983, they established the CLA archives at the Atlanta University Center, Robert W. Woodruff Library. In those archives, we can read how they stayed in the homes of other faculty members and in dorms, probably for budgetary and safety reasons, because for Black people in Memphis and Atlanta in 1937 and 1938, they probably often could not find sanctuary here. We can see how in the first and second conventions, they planned for fun and uplifting activities and gatherings just like we still do today with the presidential reception and Zumba. They didn't just want to have academic presentations more than 80 years ago either. The very creation of CLA for these scholars, by these scholars, is how they and we have remained resilient. CLA is unique, CLA is special. It has provided opportunities and a safe haven for Black scholars, teachers, faculty, and students to learn, grow, mentor, support, and sustain each other. Yet where do we go from here? How do we respond to the current struggles and realities so that CLA can continue to exist for the next generation of scholars? How do we make sure that CLA remains resilient? How do we stay relevant and useful to an ever-changing membership? We must adapt to an ever-changing world so that we can continue to exist and to serve. We channel often a justifiable rage that recognizes the lack of resources that are allotted to this historically Black organization, but we don't let it consume us. We strategize and we plan. We organize and we remain resilient. We respond by holding true to our values and adapting our mission to the task at hand. And most importantly, we love and we care for CLA and for its members. For the love of CLA, we are here. With this year's convention, we sought to honor many of the wonderful aspects of CLA that make our legacy and history so special. And it also includes some new additions to help us modernize as we plan for the future. The convention is a representation of the organization as a whole. As we usher in these new initiatives, we don't want to forget our past, and we honor and we celebrate it too. CLA has existed for more than 80 years due to the committed service of its leaders and the support of its members. My desire is to see it exist for another 80 plus years. But to do so, we must evolve. As Dr. Shauna Morgan, the editor of CLAJ, said last night in the Get to Know the College Language Association Journal event, we must remain rooted in our legacy so that we can grow for the future. Our legacy is beautiful, and it has been rooted in challenges and struggles, but we are prepared to evolve and to adapt, to grow for our future. And as we approach Easter Sunday, as Dr. Donna Akiba Sullivan Harper keeps reminding us as we approach it, I'm reminded of one of my dad's most famous Easter sermon titles. he ain't here. Well, in direct opposition, we is here. We still here. We gonna be here. CLA scholars, as we prepare for the next 8 years, join with me as we channel our justified rage to remain resilient so that we can respond in order to grow our legacy for the future. Thank you.